Hello and welcome to the current affairs discussion by Topper IAS. The topic that we've selected today is something that is very much in news. It is something that is very much hyped about, talked about. It is believed to be the UPSC topic and the most important one as of now. It is the zero budget natural farming. So specific video on this is what was warranted and that is why we have come up with one. So coming to the discussion on this topic. First and foremost, you need to understand some basics about zero budget natural farming. I'm sure whenever you have an opportunity to talk about this, you will have to define what zero budget natural farming is. So that is what we will begin with. Now, zero budget natural farming is nothing. It is simply a farming approach. It is a method of farming where the crops are grown in harmony with nature. As of now, man has evolved in his farming techniques. And this is what has resulted in him getting somehow very much alienated from the natural ways. Science has played a major role. We have gone to the extent of genetic revolution also. Genetic engineering is what is taking place. GM crops are what are being made. And that is why what we are seeing is that the distance between the natural methods of growing is what has widened. The gap is what has widened. So our farming approach which brings us back to the natural methods is what zero budget natural farming is. It is only a complex name, but rather a very, very simple and a common idea that you all can easily understand once you are willing to go ahead and break the shackles of the difficulty that is associated with the zero budget natural farming. You just have to move away from that mindset that this is a difficult topic. It is not. It is a very, very easy topic, something that we are seeing on a daily basis. That is what zero budget natural farming is. And this is one definition which is very, very simple, conveys what it is in minimalistic words, and that is why I have picked it up and you can use it. Also, what is important is that this is one technique of farming which as of now is being believed to be an answer to climate change. It is being believed that this is what is highly climate resilient, and that is why again this is something that is new to zero budget natural farming, and this is why it is very much in news also these days, because a farming technique which can adapt to climate change is what is the need of the hour. So that is what zero budget natural farming is all about. Also, whenever you are talking about zero budget natural farming, you cannot avoid the mention of a pioneer in this field. It is Sri Subhash Palekar. He is a farmer, he is an agriculturist, and he is also a farmer who has won the Padma Shri Award for his contribution to the zero budget natural farming model. So this name is what is very, very important. It is synonymous to zero budget natural farming. UPSC will not forgive you in mains if you do not speak about the pioneer here, that is Mr. Subhash Palekar. So this is one name that you have to remember, which you have to commit to your memory. So that is one thing that you need to know about the ZBNF. This is the what aspect of the zero budget natural farming. So what is zero budget natural farming is what we have discussed. Next, what is important is that this idea that it is being called a zero budget, which means that no money is going to be spent on farming. Is this a myth or is it a reality in actual? Now, basically, this is what is a model of farm cropping which is based on polycropping. What is polycropping is that not only one single crop is grown, but rather multiple crops are grown in a single farm area. And this is the model that zero budget farming is advocating. So whenever you are talking about zero budget farming, you have to talk about the idea of polycropping. You cannot have an answer which is not mentioning this idea of polycropping, because this is the basic content of zero budget natural farming, and this is what needs to be mentioned. Also, what is important here is that expenditure on the main crop is what is recovered from the short duration intercrops. One main crop we can have, and in the middle we can have some shorter duration crops also. Now, this main crop is what is growing, but the shorter duration crops will pay for the money that is invested on the main crop. So, is it zero budget in action? Not really. It is not that money is not going to be invested. Money is going to be invested, but yes, as a net result, the investment is what can be recovered, and that is why in the end, as a net result, it can be said that there is no fixed expenditure, because the expenditure that is done is what is easily recovered. So it is a zero net budget. But otherwise, the myth that is created is that for this kind of farming, no money is required at all. That is what is a myth. So this, I would suggest that this is partly a myth and it is partly a reality. So that is how you have to perceive this one particular question which has been raised. Another very, very important aspect of the zero budget natural farming is the livestock integration that is taking place here. Now, this farming is not only about crops, it also talks about livestock integration. Another key aspect and key idea that has to be discussed in zero budget natural farming. Now, not only is it talking of livestock integration, it is talking of integration of the native breeds also. So this is another idea which has been talked about in the ZBNF, and this is what again you should talk about. Now the cow dung and the cow urine is what has been suggested to be used as bioinoculants, and these will be the formulations for pest management. So the idea of pesticides as pest management is what has been shunned away in zero budget natural farming. And the idea of using livestock and the products that can be gotten from livestock is what has been suggested here. So this is something that is also a type of traditional farming that India has been doing for long. The only challenge is that the farmers of the country have been alienated from it. And this was with the advent of the Green Revolution. It was the Green Revolution which suggested that there should be use of chemical fertilizers. There should be use of hybrid seeds. There should be use of chemical pesticides. So these ideas were not something that was native to India. This is what was propagated and mediated through the Green Revolution. And now the zero budget natural farming is calling on the farmers to move back to the traditional ways of farming in India. And that is the core concept that you have to understand. Once you understand this aspect, you will be easily able to deal with any questions in the context of the zero budget natural farming. So this is one aspect that I wanted to particularly stress on. Also, next what you need to know is that why is the zero budget natural farming actually needed? Now basically, things were going well for India. Agriculture sector had produced a lot of positive results. We have become a food secure nation. This is something that is one of the major achievements for India. For a very, very long time, you should know that India was lacking food security. There was a time where we've heard that the people were dying of hunger in our nation. Now, the scenario today is that India is not only secure itself, it is producing so much of a bountiful crop that it is food surplus for that matter. So, all of this achievement is what the agriculture sector has seen. Then what was the need for the idea of zero budget natural farming is what one needs to ponder upon. Now, basically, the primary need is the concern for the farmer. Despite the fact that the farmer has given us so much in the agriculture sector, the farmers themselves have not gained any profit. The situation of the farmer in our nation is one of the worst as of now. There's a rapid increase in farmer suicides that we are seeing. So definitely there is some problem in the agriculture sector. It is particularly in the context of the agricultural distress that we are seeing, and this is what clearly needs to be addressed. So that is why we have felt a need for some reform in the agriculture sector, and the ZBNF has come as an answer. Now basically, coming to some important analysis in this context, we all know that Green Revolution advocated for use of chemicals in agriculture, and as a result of these usage, what has happened is that not only the cost of inputs has increased, this has also had several negative impacts. Health impacts are what are particularly important here. Chemical fertilizers as well as chemical pesticides have had negative impacts on the people who are consuming that grain, and that is one concern. Another thing is, as is obvious, as I have discussed also, climate change is a reality of our times, and the people who are affected most because of climate change are the farmers of our nation, and for them some resilience is what was required, some adaptation was required, and ZBNF has come as an answer. Also, there is an aim of doubling the farmer incomes by the year 2022. So, in that line also, if the cost of the inputs is what is going to reduce, then definitely profits will also increase. And that can result in doubling the farmer income by the year 2022. A survey by the NSSO is what has been talked about. In this particular survey, there has recently been an article in the Hindu on this. And as for that survey, what has been suggested is that more than 70% of the farmers in our country are such who are earning less and spending more. So this is only sustainable if they are taking some sort of a loan. So this is what is resulting in severe indebtedness of the farmers, and this is what is resulting in misery amongst the farmers, causing them to commit suicides for minor loans also. And this is something that is resulting in agricultural distress. Can this be addressed by the ZBNF? That is what has been advocated, and in that context, the ZBNF becomes important again. As I have just discussed, the high indebtedness of farmers because of the high input cost is another cause for the idea of zero budget natural farming. Also, the government policy in this regard is what has been very, very positive. critics say that this is a Hindutva government, and because of that, the stress on use of cow is what is being important here. But still, one cannot deny from a practical point of view also that this is what is something that is positive for the farmers also. The government policy in this regard is definitely positive. The budget is what talks about zero budget natural farming. Also, the economic survey stresses upon this. So this is something that is a reality. It is a situation. It is a positive idea for agriculture which has emerged in our times. And UPSC will not forgive you if you do not talk about ZBNS as an idea to resolve the agricultural distress. You must mention it. So that is how you have to use it, even in the context of the question of why ZBNS is what is needed. Next, what is important is that where all is zero budget natural farming being used in India. The diagram here, the map here is what is self-explanatory. You can see the state where it is being used. In Haryana, 80 acres of land is what is following the zero budget natural farming. In Himachal Pradesh, also this is what is being used under the Prakritik Kheti Khushal Kisan Yojana. In Punjab, again 1000 acres is what has been dedicated to this. In Andhra Pradesh, in Kerala, in Karnataka, all of these particular states are following this idea of zero budget natural farming as of now. So you can see the expansion, but definitely the central India is a huge area which is not following it as of now, particularly this region of Gujarat and Maharashtra, where we are seeing the maximum amount of farmer distress, the Vidarbha region. These are the areas where this particular idea is what has not reached as of now, and there is room for expansion in this particular part of the country. So that is how, again, you have to analyze that where all zero budget natural farming is what is being followed, and this is how you can also represent it diagrammatically in the form of a map. Next, what is important is that you have to understand that how is this idea actually spreading. This is a community-based model, and I cannot stress upon the importance of how this model is spreading. This is not a top-down approach, but rather a bottom-up approach. Now, basically, it is the farmers who experimented with this first. And it is the farmers who disseminated it as an initiative within themselves. It was a farmer-to-farmer dissemination. The farmers who were trained in this particular idea of farming were known as the CRPs, that is the community resource persons, and these are the people who have spread this one particular idea of the zero budget natural farming, which is something that is now catching the attention of the government as well as the experts. The motivation here is what is very, very high, and that is the bedrock from which this idea is blooming. So that is important. Also, what is important is that there is a concept of some handheld projectors. These small projectors are pico projectors. So through videographic messages, this idea of zero budget natural farming is what is being spread. And this is something that is very, very important. The farmer is using this idea for himself. It is spreading the positive message amongst the other farmers. And this is what makes it a community model. This is what makes the zero budget natural farming such a major success. This is one idea that I wanted to stress upon in the context of the zero budget natural farming. Indeed, whenever you are talking about this, do not forget to mention about the community model. That is about this aspect. Also, in this context, you should know some criticisms also. Obviously, there are benefits and that cannot be denied. If the benefit is what is being spoken from by the farmer himself, how can we refute it? But nevertheless, it has its own criticisms also. The first criticism is that it is not totally a zero cost option. I have discussed that it is partly a myth and partly a reality. So some degree of investment here is also required. Another issue that is important here is that there are no scientific studies as of now which are proving it. It is basically a bottom-up approach. I told you it is the farmer who is saying that it is beneficial. It is not that scientific labs conducted any tests and they advocated it. So that is again one criticism. Also, what is important is that the soil in India as of now is facing several problems. India is a very, very diverse nation. We have a vast variety of soils in our country. Each specific soil has different requirements, but the zero budget natural farming is a one-step all solution. It is saying that only by following the natural ways, all the problems related to agriculture are going to be solved. And this might not be true in all situations, particularly because soils often have micronutrient deficiencies. And for specific soils, a specific amount of micronutrients might be required. The soil health card scheme is an example in this context. Also, major amounts of soil in the country are facing soil toxicity. This is primarily because of the falling groundwater level. Also, pollution is one cause for this. Industrial effluents are being added to the soil. All of this is what is resulting in soil toxicity. So it cannot be said that zero budget natural farming is a solution for everybody. Yes, it could be a major step, but it is not a one-step solution for all the problems related to agriculture. So that is one criticism. Also, what is important is that it is being claimed that the results of the yields are what are very, very high, but there is again no study to prove this, that the yields with chemical fertilizers as well as natural farming fertilizers are what are equivalent. There is no proof of this. Also, what is important is that one cannot deny that green revolution was something that has changed the entire scenario of agriculture sector as well as food security in the country. So why is it that it is completely being set aside now? Yes, it has resulted, it has given us positive results, and its positives are what cannot be overlooked in the current situation. So that is the one idea that has been talked about in the criticism aspect. So these are some ideas of criticism in the context of the zero budget natural farming, which you must keep in mind. Next, what is important is the way forward. Finally, what can we conclude from this entire discussion? What is it that the country has to follow is what is important. Now, despite the fact that many people in the scientific fraternity might refute the idea of zero budget natural farming, they might call it a traditional farming, old age farming, whatever they might call it. But it has had positive impacts. Farmers are there to back this particular science, and that is why its role is what cannot be overlooked. Just like green revolution cannot be set aside completely, similarly, zero budget natural farming can also not be set aside completely, is the first idea that you need to put forward. Also, what is important is that scientific intervention is required and its importance cannot be denied. For example, as I told you, in the soil health card scheme, it is important. The soil nutrients are what need to be studied, micronutrients are what need to be provided. Science has to grow, but the traditional knowledge is what cannot completely be washed away, is what is important. Indeed, there is need for innovative technologies to deal with wind and water erosion also. These are the newer challenges that are emerging. Climate change is a reality. Zero budget natural farming could be one way of climate resilience, but newer methods are also what is required, so that is important. Also, the last gist of this particular discussion is that it is not that zero budget natural farming is one step solution. Rather, a comprehensive approach is what is needed in the context of the current challenges that are emerging in the agriculture sector, and that is how you have to deal with this issue. That is how you have to address it also. So that is the entire discussion in the context of the zero budget natural farming. I have tried to touch upon almost all the aspects of this particular topic, and in my opinion, this one video will help you cater to answering almost any question on zero budget natural farming in the mains paper. So that is my purpose of my video. I hope it helped you all. Many more videos coming your way. Thank you all for watching.